Australia in 1984 and separated in a blaze of publicity earlier this year. They have, however, been brought together again, ironically as a result of Elton's bad publicity. Well, Annie asked him what had caused the split.
Basically, I was exhausted mentally and physically. I didn't know what I wanted out of life. The Voice thing coming out, I wanted to stay in Australia, watch the cricket. I don't know, I can't explain what it was. I couldn't even explain it to her, actually. It was nothing to do with a great big row or anything like that. And she took the whole situation very well because she's a very elegant and very... She's a great lady. And she understood that, and she went away, and she lived in London for a while. And when all this thing in the Sun happened, I said, listen, you've got to come back here, because she was being hounded as well. And so we went through it together, and it brought us back together. Every couple's going to have their ups and downs, whether it's with me or a show business or any occupation. And it's nice that she's back, and I'm not a very good person to live with as far as, like, I'm very deep. I get up in the morning, I don't say a word for an hour or so. I don't talk very much, which is one of my faults. You wouldn't have judged it by the way I'm going on here. But I mean, with the relationship, because I think basically, because I've been so busy, I mean, I've had 3 or 4 years of just doing non-stop work. When I've been, actually, that's 3 or 4 years I've been married. So it was nothing to do with her at all. It was me trying to work my own self out. And as a result of this, it's all come back together again, which is lovely.
Yeah, do you love each other?
I always will love her, yeah, absolutely. I think so. She loves me and I love her. You know, it's just certain situations, right, where we'll have a row or we'll have a parting of the ways for a couple of months. But I mean, that happens to every couple. I think we understand each other a lot more because of what's gone on. And yeah, I do love her. I always will.
I think everybody was very sad when you put out that statement saying that you were going to be separated. Do you think you were forced into putting out that statement?
I wasn't forced into it, but I mean, it was very hurtful for her. It kind of was a bit forced. Like the press actually, and again, saying that I think the press treated us very well because I think the press knew there was something wrong, and I kept saying, no, it's okay, and she did it. And in fact, it wasn't as good as we were making out to be. And I think the press could have hauled us over the coals a lot more than they did, and I think they were very supportive in that. And I'd like to thank them for it. They could have had a heyday with Renata and I, but they didn't.
Conducting a marriage in the spotlight can't be easy, anyway. I mean, you're probably much more used to the spotlight than Renata ever was.
Yeah, Renata was just an engineer in a studio, and she's adapted so well to the lifestyle. I mean, it hasn't been easy. But as I say, she's a very elegant lady, and she's a very dignified lady. And whatever she's done in the situation that we parted was nothing to do with her. It was to do with my brain being fried after 3 or 4 years hard work. So she's been wonderful.
Do you feel very protective towards her?
Yeah, that's why I said, listen, you can't stay in London when this is going on. Come back here, for God's sake. Yeah. I always will do, yeah. She's special. I mean, there are very special people in my life, 3 or 4 special people, and she's one of them.
And indeed, at the time of all that bad publicity, Elton John speaking to Anne Diamond. There's 4 more where that came from during the rest of the week.
Hello again. Elton John's had a lot to cope with in the last year, but perhaps one of the worst moments came when he faced a throat operation and the prospect that he might never sing again. Well, thankfully, as we know, Elton came through the operation with his voice intact. Well, in the second of her interviews with Elton, Anne Diamond asked him if the new voice was any different to the old one.
I have a feeling, having just hummed around the house and stuff like that, that my voice will be richer. After the operation, it's slightly deeper, and it's certainly stronger, because I haven't really been doing that much. The only way to cure something like that after an operation is rest, which coincided with the fact that I wasn't going to tour for a couple of years anyway. So it's definitely going to be stronger and richer, and that's fine. I'm really enjoying being a singer now, more so than the piano. I like playing the piano, but I like singing as well, so my technique will get better as well.
What was actually wrong with the voice? What symptoms first came to hand? Why did you know something was wrong?
It happened in America that I had to cancel the first 2 shows in America, or postpone them, because I just completely lost my voice altogether. And then I went to see some doctors in New York and various other places, and I knew there was something wrong with it, and I didn't want to cancel the tour to Australia, which was after the American tour, because of the opportunity to play with the orchestra. And I knew it would be a struggle, and I sort of kept back from people how bad it was. I knew it was pretty bad. And then in Australia, I saw a specialist who said, listen, you really shouldn't be singing, but if you want to come do the tour, that's up to you. Afterwards, I want to have you straight into and do the operation. It was a 50-minute operation pretty minor operation. I wasn't dying or anything like that. And it was just really, I couldn't imagine like speaking like that. I was a bit Marlon Brando-ish in The Godfather. Hey. But it turned out all right.
You just stayed in Australia watching the cricket?
I stayed in watching cricket, became a cricket groupie. God, if you go and see a cricket match, you're called a cricket groupie, that's fine. And I just went to holiday to the Barrier Reef and then came back to face, via Los Angeles, to face whatever was going to happen.
Yes. We were all celebrating recently the 20th anniversary of Sergeant Pepper.
Yeah.
And you said yourself you've got a 20th anniversary. But before we go into your 20th anniversary, you, at the Prince's Trust concert, paid an enormous tribute to the Beatles. When you came on stage and you were going to announce Ringo and George coming on, you said that without the Beatles, probably none of the rest of us would be here today. So you clearly have always been a Beatles fan.
Yes. Well, at the time that 60s thing happened with the Beatles, I was at school, at grammar school, and about 13, 14, everybody sort of was in a group, or there was a local group. More groups around than there are today, and I think the songs more than anything, and the fact that they were considered outrageous when they happened. I mean, God, those haircuts and jackets, they influenced me just from the songwriting point of view. Lennon, McCartney, there's no question of it. No one will ever equal the quality, the amount of songs they wrote, the quality of the songs they wrote. Forget Rodgers and Hammerstein, Lerner, and people will probably say, well, come on. But for the amount of songs they wrote, those two people were the finest songwriters of this century, by far.
You said you were at grammar school. Were you already a bit of a musician then? Did you know what you wanted to be?
I always knew I was a bit of a musician from about 3 or 4 years of age. So we always had music in the house. We had a piano, an upright piano, and my father was a trumpeter in a dance band, and my mother...
I didn't know that.
Yeah,
so
and my auntie played the piano, and my mum always used to have a radiogram, and I grew up with Nat King Cole records, Doris Day and George Shearing and stuff like that, so I always had music around me. And I had a flair for playing the piano by ear, and then my parents made me go to lessons, and then afterwards I went to the Royal Academy of Music for 5 years as a junior exhibitioner, which meant that you go to school Monday to Friday, and then you go to the academy on a Saturday morning, and you do your homework Sunday, so I kind of resented it, really. But there was always music around. I remember my mother used to buy a couple of 78s every Friday, and so there was music surrounding me, so I always knew at an early age, no matter what, I mean, I didn't think I was ever going to be a singer. I played the piano, and then I played the organ in a group, and when I got fed up with playing to people in cabaret, backing up people, I thought I would become a songwriter. But I would have been happy selling records in a shop as long as it involved music. It's a tremendous advantage to know what you want to do.
Was football always there as well when you were a child?
Yes, because my father used to take me to Watford, and also I had a cousin who played for Fulham, and then Nottingham Forest, so football was always a big part of my life. Yeah.
Did you ever want to be a footballer?
I wouldn't have minded, but I didn't have the... at school, we played rugby, and you have to have a flair for that at an early age. You just don't become a footballer at 13, 14. You start when you're 6 or 7, and you have to have a flair for that. But I've always, deep down, loved to have been a sportsman, because it must be so wonderful if you're a successful sportsman, I hasten to add, because I think anyone would love to win a gold medal or play in a cup final or win Wimbledon. It must be a tremendous thing.
Well, he's not done too bad as a singer, really, has he?
Not at all. Not at all.
Can I just point out, if you switched on and saw Annie sitting there and wondered what was happening, and I don't know if you could detect she was still actually pregnant when she did that interview.
The headlines this year is Elton John. In the third of Anne Diamond's interviews with Elton this week, he talks about something all of the famous have to face, the press. And he asked him, first of all, if he'd been affected by that particular section of the press that had been hounding him, I think we could say, in recent months.
Everything seemed to come at once. It was in The Voice, a separation from Renata, the newspaper thing. Then there was another thing in the newspaper, in the national newspaper, that I was selling Watford, which is absolute nonsense. So I thought, God, something's got to go right sooner or later. And it has, you know, it was a pretty dismal time, but it's all over and done with now.
Other sections of the media, who are probably much more sympathetic towards you, said that this is getting ridiculous. We're going to drive this man out of Britain if we're not careful. And there were some stories saying that that it looked as though you were going to give up life in Britain and go and probably live in Australia or America. Were you ever near that?
Not really. I mean, it crossed my mind a couple of times, and I thought, well, this is ridiculous. You can't run away from a situation. But I mean, the thing that was wonderful about the whole situation, that I got so many letters from people I didn't even know. I got some wonderful friends anyway. I've always been lucky. But from people I didn't know, wrote me the most comforting letters, and to Renata. which were absolutely superb, and they kept one's chins up. And I also had a lot of support from the other press, which I'm very grateful for. And in fact, it more than reinstalled my faith in this country. You know, you can't let things like that get to you, because that means that they would win. And it's not finished yet by any means. I mean, the last hasn't been heard of it, and I know that. And I'm more than ready for them.
Are you going to have the last laugh, or at least revenge?
That would be very sweet, and I would hope to, yeah.
The public, do you think they have a right to your private life?
I think they have a right to expect you to behave properly in private life, or if they come up to you and they want an autograph or a picture, and I always try to, even though sometimes it's extremely annoying. I don't think they want to know, the public. I mean, they're not interested. Of all the letters I got saying, we don't care what you do in your public, in your private life. As long as I'm at Watford, I behave myself and represent my club properly, which I've always done. Most of the people that have written to me said they don't care, as long as you're not doing any harm to anybody else. And I think your private life should be your private life. But if you're going to go out and be who I am, you've got to expect a little bit of flack from various quarters if you misbehave.
Those allegations in The Sun, I mean, I know that it's a subject of litigation, so obviously I sort of can't ask you whether they're true or anything like that.
Yeah.
But, I mean, I was just wondering whether, because you've been, in a way, so honest in the past, like how many years ago you gave an interview and you said, I'm a bisexual.
11 years ago, yeah.
That maybe you ask for it by almost being too open with people.
I don't think I don't... Yeah, I think if you're going to say something, you've got to expect the flack back. It was just, I couldn't figure out why they were doing it. And I think it was just, it sounded like an editorial decision gone mad. And they've not only done it to me, they've done it to David Steele, they've done it to Paul Young, they've done it to George Michael. And there are lots of rumours going around that they're out to get George Michael, the son, will pay lots of money for any photographs, whatever. I think people are thoroughly sick and tired of it. I know the circulation went down when I was on the front page anyway. Quite rightly so. I just think it's they're a disgusting bunch, or the people involved are disgusting. Not everybody who works at The Sun are disgusting. I've had phone calls from people who work for News Limited who have been very helpful. I know a lot of sports journalists who have been really nice, who I'm very friendly with, and I would never, ever go and lump them in with it. It's just 3 or 4 people who've got it in for me, that's all, and you just have to take it on the chin and then get them back.
Do you live in constant fear of something from your past coming up and haunting you?
I live in constant fear of that,
a very big
that fly coming on there. That's Nigel Dempster going to sting me. No, not really. No, I haven't got any skeleton closets. I haven't got any skeletons in my closet, really. And they're part of my private life. I haven't done it in public to be ashamed of. And if they're going to bring that all up, then let them bring it up, but I'll have them in court.
Are you not immune to it now when you open a newspaper? Do you think, I think tomorrow's fish and chip paper? Yeah, I am a bit immune to it. The thing that it really hurts other people who work for you or work with you, or the people at the football club, people who work in the office, because they have to deal on a day-to-day basis. You can hide at home for 3 weeks, maybe. When people are going to them, well, what about this, what about that? And they go to work 5, 6 days a week, and they have that thrown at them by various people, probably. But I think I'm totally immune to it now. I mean, I don't think really they could write anything else. But it's the people around you, isn't it?
Yeah, they get affected by it. My family were affected by it, and the people at Watford were affected by it a lot.
Elton John, and I'm sorry if we kept you waiting. We've been watching Elton and Anne at 8:20 all this week, but things shuffled around just a little bit this morning. Hope it was worthwhile. Tomorrow, let me tell you, Elton will be talking to Annie about his home and family life, and that again at around about 8:20.
Redecorate and stuff like that. It gives them something to do. They like the warm weather, and it's great for them. It's instead of just staying in one place down in Sussex and just staying there and just doing nothing, they want another challenge, so they're moving to Spain, and good luck to them. It's not that far away, so I'll be able to go and see them.
The very few times I've ever seen your mum interviewed or anything, she strikes me as the sort of... I mean, she hasn't changed a bit with having a famous son. She sounds to me as though she'd collar you just as easily or give you advice.
I know what my mum's thinking if even I'm in America and she's in Sussex. You can feel the Atlantic freeze. She has the ability to do that. You can't ever get one. Mothers are an extraordinary breed of people, as you're about to find out, because they have a telepathy. I mean, and you can't really get one over on them. They know, they're very protective, but on the other hand, you really can't. I don't know of any mother that you can really get one over. They're very special people. Women are special like that anyway. I always find that women are far more intuitive than men. they know what's going on more. I don't know, they have a special segment of their brain that men haven't been able to find yet. It's very infuriating.
Tell me about your home.
And my home...
Since you won't let Lloyd Grossman go around it, tell us about it.
It needs redecorating. Perhaps you'd like to do it. It's a big house, but a homely house, and it works if people are there. And I've been in there for 12 years now, and it desperately needs things. It needs me being there for a year, 2 years to sort things out. I mean, you just can't. You know, if Renata says, "What do you think about this?" We had a kitchen that took for a year, but I was never there to see what was going on, and you can't sort of redecorate and say, "What walls would you like here?" unless you're home for a period of time. That's what I intend to do for the next year or so. Be at home. I'm going to record in England this year, so that we can spend some time at home and do things together. I think she's a bit frightened of doing things without me being there. Because she doesn't know what my tastes are. We've been married 3.5 years and we don't know whether we like the walls white or the walls blue. So that's the central part of things, is to redecorate the house and just go through it and thin out some stuff. I've got every T-shirt.
You collect things, don't you?
I don't. I'm a hoarder. My mother said, "Why don't you throw things away?" She said, "Look at this bloody old rubbish." And but I collect things that fans send me. I'm a book collector. I'm a record collector. I'm a painting collector. I must have a disease. People have agoraphobia.
Collectivitis.
What was it called?
I don't know. Collectivitis.
Yes.
Yeah, I know that you collect hats because you were showing me a wonderful hat you'd bought for Renata. You're very much into hats.
Well, I'm very much into everything. I know I can't really sort of buy one sort of thing. I collect everything. So that's got to be honed down. I mean, that hat I just bought Renata that's why we've got to move some stuff out. That was big enough. I grew up with inanimate objects as being my friends, because I didn't really have that many friends. And I kind of like possessions. Sometimes I go to people's houses and they have nothing in them, and I think, I wish I could be like that. And just have nothing, you know. And I like, you go into it, and there's nothing on the walls, and it's very bare, and I think, wish I could be like that. But I can't be. It's my personality to be like I am, and it's too late to change.
The one great thing, apart from what socialist people might say, I suppose, about collecting things and having lots of things around you is you can leave them to your children. You used to say you wanted a family. Do you think you still do? I just really have to concentrate on making sure that I'm happy and that Renata's happy at the moment. That's the last thing really I have on my mind anymore. I just think I want a year off and see how we go, and just it would be nice, but really the most important thing is just to have some time off to spend with Renata.
Oh, that's really cute. And tomorrow Elton is going to be talking about his incredibly successful songwriting partnership with Bernie Taupin, who of course has given us so many brilliant hits.
Right.
And by the way, there's a special treat because Elton's actually going to be singing one of those songs tomorrow, so you must watch out for that. Right now, we'll take a break. Hello again. Now, in a final excerpt from Anne's chat with Elton John, they talk about his special partnership with the lyricist Bernie Taupin. Of course, their association resulted in classics like Rocket Man and Crocodile Rock. And by way of a treat for TVAM viewers, Elton agreed to perform a live version of his own favourite, Your Song. But first, how did he and Bernie actually meet?
There was an advert that went in on the 17th of June in the New Musical Express, 1967.
You don't remember that very accurately, do you?
Well, no, because I didn't know, but Bernie's... I phoned Bernie this week and said, do you know it's the 17th that advert went in? I said, no, I didn't. But it was. And that said Liberty Records, who were forming their own independent company away from EMI Records, wanted singer-songwriters, so I thought I'll have a go at that. Though I couldn't sing, I thought I might be able to write songs. And through various people, the guy called Ray Williams, who started this off, introduced, well, didn't introduce me to Bernie, he just said, listen, I've got these lyrics from this guy in Lincolnshire, because I'm not very good with lyrics at all. And I went and wrote some songs to the melodies to the lyrics, and it all evolved from there. It's a long, complicated, but that's actually how it started.
Yeah, you've got quite a unique relationship with Bernie Taupin.
Yeah, we never see each other.
Well, he lives in Los Angeles now,
yeah, I mean, it's quite an achievement to last for 20 years, the fact that we haven't really had any major arguments or anything that we found. No way. How
does the relationship work, then? If you don't see each other an awful lot, how does a sort of brown envelope just arrive through your front door one morning? With a load
sort of. I mean, that's an extreme way of putting it, but it's kind of like that. I mean, it was like that in the beginning. We were living together in one room at my parents' flat in Northwood Hills, and he would give me a lyric, and I would go up to the piano, write it, and then say, hey, come and listen to this. It's never been a matter of collaboration. I don't think we've ever collaborated on one song. 99% of the time, it's lyrics first, melodies second. I've never questioned the way it works. There's a chemistry between us, so you don't question it, you just get on and do it. It's a great relationship. I can't really ever think of me being without Bernie, not just in songwriting terms, but just as a friend. It's an achievement in the fact that I still think as much of him as I've always done, and I think he is as much of me. And in this business, it's kind of, sometimes people get pulled apart, great relationships get pulled apart because of jealousies, because of other people.
What's his favourite song of yours and
I have
his?
no idea. You know, that'd be interesting, actually, to list what his favourite songs were or are. My favourite songs aren't necessarily the ones that have been hits. They're the more obscure tracks of things like Blue Moves, Tumbleweed Connection, songs like Come Down in Time, Amarina.
Your song is one of his.
Yes.
Do you remember how you wrote that?
I remember writing it. I remember just writing it and thinking it was rather special, because there are certain songs, you write lots of songs, but some of them, maybe 4 or 5 of them, you know when you've written them, hey, this is going to be a bit special.
It's a little bit funny, this feeling inside. I'm not one of those who can easily hide. I don't have much money, but boy, if I did, I'd buy a big house where we both could live. If I was a sculptor, but then again, no, or a man who makes potions in a traveling show. I know it's not much, but it's the best I can do. My gift is my song, yeah, and this one's for you. And you can tell everybody this is your song. It may be quite simple, but now that it's done, hope you don't mind that I put down in words how wonderful life is while you're in the world. Sat on the roof and kicked out the moss. Well, a few out the verses, oh, they got me quite cross. But the sun's been quite kind while I wrote this song. So people like you, they keep it turned on. Excuse me for getting these things I do. Oh, forgotten if they're green or they're blue. Anyway, the thing is, what I really mean, yours are the sweetest eyes I've ever seen. You can tell everybody this is your song. It may be quite simple, but now that it's done, hope you don't mind that I put down in words how wonderful life is while you're in the world, girl. You don't mind, I hope you don't mind that I put down words how wonderful life is well, you're in the world.
is just so beautiful.
One of the great entertainers, and you feel like you can conquer the world at the end of something like that.
And he
Marvellous,
performed it in the studio with no backing, and it just sounds wonderful.
Can I just tell you that we've had so many requests and such a good reaction to those interviews by Anne Diamond with Elton John that we'll be running them again all next week on our early show here at TVAM between 6 and 7 o'clock, around about 6:20, I think, but join us for an hour anyway. Elton John again next week with Anne Diamond. 8:25, short break.